Well, as we continue to watch what has been happening in the Middle East with war in Iran, we wonder and we want to dive in more on some of the impacts globally when it comes to meat trade. It's an area that we hear a lot of talk about fertilizer and energy, et cetera, but we wonder about some of those global flows for trade. And again, specifically, let's look at the meat side of the equation and meat exports. PMI Foods is a $3 billion global meat distributor with major operations throughout the Middle East, and they are the biggest exporter of U.S. beef into China. So this is going to be an interesting conversation. Let's talk about things. Joining us now here on the program, president and founder of PMI Foods, Darin Parker is with us today. Darin, thanks so much for joining us on Agriculture of America, sir. Hope all is well.
Well, everything is great. It's wonderful to be here, Jesse, and I look forward to our dialogue. Just a little correction: we're not the largest exporters. We're one of the largest exporters to China when the market was open. But anyway, I appreciate the boost.
Well, thank you for that correction. I'll have to recorrect my notes that I have in front of me, so I appreciate that. Well, hey, I gave a little bit of a background, but anything else you would add in terms of PMI Foods and a background on the company just to start, Darin?
You know, Jesse, many years ago, 30 years ago, when we started PMI Foods, when it was a concept, we started out as just a trading company. And as we developed throughout the years, we became an importing company. So we'd actually export to some of the markets and import it ourselves. And we were involved in the distribution of the product. And this is what really changed us from a typical trader to more of a food distributor globally. And so with our 30 offices globally and, in 18 countries, we're able to have a perspective that not a lot of other people get because we're down on the ground there. I think what makes the difference is we have over 800 employees that really make the difference for PMI. They're the ones. This is a 24/7 business. It's a full contact sport, as every one of your listeners know that, does this business day in and day out. And our people, their professionalism, we just try to give our customers the right products, to give them solutions so that they might be successful. And really, that's what it's all about. And I just look around me at all the people that work with this great company, and I'm amazed at their hard work and dedication. So that's really what makes the difference with PMI Foods.
All right. Well, I appreciate that background. Let's dive in. I alluded to this in the open. We hear a lot about energy, of course, and fertilizer and all these concerns with what's happening in the Middle East. But how has the war in Iran impacted global meat trade, Darin?
Well, it's impacting all trade, especially the Straits of Hormuz. We see the energy flows. But let's talk a little bit about what's just in the immediate area. In Dubai and these other Middle Eastern countries, they're running out of food. The food is not arriving. Vessels do not want to go. They don't want to put their vessels in harm's way. Insurance companies have enacted their clauses that say they're not going to protect in acts of war. So it's becoming very critical. And so we're seeing shortages in some countries. Then in other countries, because there's shortages, the meat has to go somewhere. I mean, commodities are like water, right? They flow to where they need to go. They just keep flowing around. And we're seeing products being available in other locations. But the thing that we're not really looking at here is, if this is a prolonged event, is what is the long-term ramifications and the demand curve going to look like in somewhere like the Philippines that needs all their fuel and they don't have a huge fuel reserve, or somewhere like Vietnam, or what happens in Japan, or what happens in South Korea. What happens in these other markets. Protein is something that people could, maybe downgrade from a protein to more of a, they might eat rice and beans instead of, proteins for a while. So these kind of exogenous hits to the economy, they're really hard to predict. And today it's a little early to tell, Jess, but I think that we really have to keep our eyes open and be ready to act.
Well, and I think about this, I would assume, and if things were to drag on, or whatever happens, or even if we start to find some resolutions, the impacts that have already happened and have been done, and the infrastructure, et cetera, again, I would assume that consumers are probably going to see a rise in costs at the grocery store, the meat case here, if anything, in the short term. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Darin?
Well, the mother of all commodities is oil, and it touches all of us. So from the farmer that's farming his ground, to moving it to market, to putting it into the animals, or however, whatever they do with the commodities, shipping it somewhere, it all requires oil. The processing of the product, the shipping of the product, the packaging of the product, it all takes energy. And so without doubt, it's going to change the price. And again, it depends on how long it lasts, but it is definitely inflationary. It by definition is inflationary.
All right. We're having a conversation with Darin Parker from PMI Foods here today on AOA. I want to dovetail over to China for a second. And we mentioned, your role with exports to China and more. And we've heard a lot about China blocking certain U.S. plants from exporting beef to them for quite a while now. And so in this grand scheme of trade, geopolitics, and war and everything else, how does that situation relate to or add on to what we're seeing going on in the Middle East right now?
Well, China is an amazing market. And when Donald Trump had his first administration, we did what was called the Phase One Agreement. I think you recall about the Phase One Agreement. And we were able to export, again, chicken products to China, as well as beef products. And beef products had been out of the market for many, many years. And we had a special deal with the GACC, the GAC, which is the Department of Commerce, that allowed our facilities to be pre-approved. And about in March of last year, none of our plants got reapproved on the beef plants. Now, there's one or two plants still out there that are approved, but quickly they're going to run out also. And so China is a super important market for us. To give you an idea, $180, $160 to $180 a head is what you gain when you have that market. And the beautiful thing about it is these are commodities that we regularly don't use in the United States. So it's not inflationary on the pricing in the United States. It only helps us become more efficient and puts money back into the farmer's pocket, back into the producer's pocket, back into the factory's profit. And so it's great for the people in market too. The Chinese love the U.S. beef, right? So we've been selling U.S. beef there solidly, and it's been a big loss. We've lost. I think the number's like $1.6 billion is what we're losing. And so now we still have Korea, we still have Japan, we still have Mexico, but that marginal dollar, that additional customer fighting for that demand, really increases the value of that product more than you would think. And so like a short plate that might be worth $3 a pound here today, if we had the China market, it may be worth $5.50 or $5.60 a pound, which is a huge it's a huge difference.
I think about this too, Darin. You've been doing this a while. You have a lot of experience here. You've seen these ebbs and flows when it comes to policy and trade and geopolitics and war, et cetera, when it comes back to what's happening in the meat industry and throughout agriculture and more. So are we seeing global meat and commodity flows changed for the foreseeable future, does it seem, with war and geopolitics, et cetera? I mean, what's your thoughts on some of that right now?
For some reason, food is always political. And I don't know why that is, but it's super political. Protectionism is rampant in Europe and other places that don't want the product to come in and compete with their own. But more importantly, I think we have political problems. Either war is a political problem. Not having access to China is a political problem. And so it needs to be solved politically, right? So I think that what we're going to see here going forward is that you're going to see these things come to some sort of a resolution. We hope to see during the next administration's visit. I think they're planning sometime in May to have, if they still keep it, but in May, Mr. Xi and Mr. Trump are going to sit down and have a conversation. We hope that beef and some of the other commodities that we need to export from the United States, we hope that those are on the table and things that we can discuss and resolve. I'm here at the USMEF today at a conference, and we're discussing the allocation of resources on how we can export more products to these different markets. And it's a great operation. They do a wonderful job at the U.S. Meat Export Federation. But what we're looking to do here, and what we're looking to accomplish, is growth in the export business. So we hope that by having these meetings and having these dialogues, that we can gain this access and have the political solution necessary to be able to grow the business. And people love our products. U.S. products are the best products in the world. Our farmers, the way we do things, no one else does them the way the U.S. does it. No one has grain-fed beef the way we have grain-fed beef. The way we raise our hogs, the way that we raise our lamb, our grain-fed lamb. We do so many wonderful things, our crops. But, hopefully we have a solution here soon that will give us the relief necessary that we can, have more exports.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything final, Darin, you would add or reiterate to our listeners here in our conversation today? Again, this has been great insight. We do appreciate the time with us. Anything final you would share with folks today?
Well, listen, first of all, this is the right business to be in. This is the business that AI is not going to take over. I mean, we're in the business of the future here. And of course, we're going to be able to refine our business to go forward. But, I grew up, my family grew up, not myself, but my mother and father grew up on a farm. I spent time with the farmers, with the cow-calf operation, with the dairy farmer, hardworking people. And you're in the right business. And this business is only going to grow. This is going to be something that is a positive, all-American business that's going to grow, and it's going to be prosperous in the future. So I think, all your listeners out there, I just wanted to let you know you're in the right place, and hopefully we can come up with some solutions to help retain our herds, maybe some government issues, to get more volume so we can grow our herds back, so we can have more product to export, and to have pro-farmer policies to be able to meet the needs of the growing population of the world. But anyway, great to be with you, Jesse. Really enjoyed it.
Well, I know folks can learn more and stay up to date at PMIfoods.com. President and founder of PMI Foods, Darin Parker. Great to have you join us, sir. Thanks so much for the time. We'll look forward to having you back on the show again real soon.
Thank you, sir.